Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Covers. I know what you're thinking. What is she doing on? She told us last week that there wasn't going to be a show. I'll get into that in a second. Hello there, Lucille. So if you're watching, please do say hello. Tap the screen, show us some love. Let us know where you're watching from. I've got something new going on right now. I've got something called Stars if you're watching on Facebook. And if you find this channel of value and worth, you are very, very welcome to contribute some stars, which comes in the form of money, which helps to keep this show going. So feel free to go ahead and do that. It's the first time I've had this, so I'm quite excited about it. So what am I doing? Hey there, Lucille again. Hey there, Absam on Instagram. So if you're watching for the first time, my name is Daniela Blechner. I'm an author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world to help them to get their powerful messages and stories out there in the form of books, of course. Behind me here on this bookshelf are just some of the 150 plus books that we've published over the last 5 to 6 years. I'm absolutely passionate about providing a platform for unseen, unheard authors, for them to have their voices heard and stories shared so they can educate, inspire, and empower for generations to come. I also really enjoy working with entrepreneurs who have lots of wisdom and knowledge and insight to impart. So if you're watching, please say hello. Hello there, Tom. Hey there, Shia. Shout out to Shia. She helps women to get confident before they have their interviews. She's awesome. Do follow her on Instagram. So we are live on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So there's a lot going on. So what am I doing here today? What is this show about? This show is a platform where I interview authors, whether they're published through Conscious Dreams, whether they've self-published, or maybe they've gone the traditional route, to really give you an insight, not just into the author and their story, but what goes on behind the creation of a book. It's also a platform for experts to come on and give some tips and advice to authors, advice that you may not hear anywhere else. So why am I doing a show today when I said last week that I'm actually having a week off? I had a phone call. I had a phone call from a very good friend, and he said to me, I'm running a webinar about webinars. Can I impart some knowledge to my community, to your community? And of course, I absolutely could not say no. I've worked with this young man for a very about 4, 5, 6 years now, I think. So I'm going to be introducing the awesome and amazing Simone Vincenzi. He is a co-founder of GTEx. He's an international speaker, author, and expert in creating high converting webinars, which is amazing for authors. Simone has run more than 400, I will repeat that, 400 webinars and tested over 70 different presentation styles. So he sure knows what he's talking about. I've personally attended many of GTEx's trainings, seminars, workshop events. They're absolutely amazing. And I've personally benefited greatly from the advice and the training given there. He's also provided, GTEx, who are they first? They provide training and workshops that turn experts into authorities. Simone has also run many trainings for my community, and it's been an honor to see them grow, not just as authors, but actually as business owners and entrepreneurs. So please do give a lovely, warm welcome to the lovely Simone Vincenzi, who I'm inviting on 2 different platforms right now. Okay, just inviting you in. And if you are watching, please do say hello. And if you have any questions, again, this is always a very interactive show, so please do feel free to throw your questions up. Oh, we are here. I have you on Instagram also, and I have you on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube all at the same time. So
we are everywhere.
We are everywhere.
There is no stopping.
There isn't indeed. Oh gosh. Okay.
You got it?
What I need to do?
You need to mute your
computer.
You need to mute your computer. We tried today. Like we did. Okay, now it works.
About this all day. Okay. So would you like to introduce yourself, Simone?
Well, what can I say more than what you just said? Well, hi Instagram, this way. Hi every other platform that way. My name is, as you mentioned, Simone Vincenzi, and I'm really passionate about bringing people together and building communities. And one of the things that we found, we've been running our company for now 9 years. GTEx is in the official 9 year. And one of the things that we struggled with the most at the beginning was lead generation, getting clients, like a lot of other companies in the coaching, speaking, training industry. And I became obsessed about different ways in which I could get clients. And I found that one of the most effective ways, it is indeed webinars. We made a few millions using webinars. We help hundreds of other coaches, consultants, authors, trainers to create their own webinars. And that's why we are here today. And that's what we are talking about.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. For those who don't know, they may have heard the word webinar, but may not know what webinar actually is. Can you just explain what a webinar is and why it's important to use them, or what the benefits of them are?
Absolutely. If you have not used a webinar before, webinars is an online presentation. I'm sure that you have attended online presentation where you had to sign up, put your name, email address, and then there was someone that gave you sometimes a good presentation, sometimes a bad presentation. That depends who was the person presenting. But then either inviting you to a call to book a call, or buying a program, or buying a service. And maybe you have both in one of those presentations, and it was so good that you said, you know what, I need to give them my money, and you bought one of their trainings and offers. And that's what a webinars is an online presentation. It doesn't matter where it's delivered, how it's delivered, is an online presentation designed, in this case, that what the context in which we are talking about is to sell. Because you can use webinars to train and to give like how to and to train, but also you can use webinars to get clients, to sell a product, or to invite people on your consultations. And I love webinars because I think is one of the most scalable and predictable ways in which you can get clients. That's why I love webinars so much. And you can do it whatever you want, as long as you have a good internet connection.
Yeah.
Talking about
we won't
internet
talk about that one.
connection.
Yeah. A
Let's
few
not talk
internet
about
problems.
that one.
Brilliant. And the thing is, you can do it from home. You don't have to leave your house. It's perfect.
Absolutely.
I mean, one question I get is like, how long should a webinar be? It's like, how long is a piece of string? What is it an effective time for a webinar to sustain people's interest?
If you're doing mainly presentation style, a good like a 45 to 90 minutes is a good time, because also it depends also always on the outcome that you want to have, right? The outcome is the most important thing. If you want to sell something, you need to have enough time to build relationship with someone. If you have a 10 minutes webinar and you say, okay, buy this, it's not going to work unless they know you already, okay? Unless they're already familiar with you. But if it is for people that don't know you, then they need to build a relationship with you. They need to know who you are. They need to see the value that you can deliver for them. They need to understand why what you're doing is different. So what we found is that between 45 to 90 minutes is the ideal time. And I would invite people to test and then find their own ideal length, but between 45 to 90 minutes is a good one to start.
And how can it benefit? I know you're talking about, you can sell at the end, but if you're thinking about authors specifically, I know that I have people who, we have all sorts of businesses watching today or on the replay. How can authors specifically benefit from running webinars?
Well, authors, you want to sell more books? Give me a yes in the chat. Give me a yes in the chat if you want to sell more books.
Lucille, you're an author. Do you want to sell more books? Tell us.
Right? that will be the easiest way. I think that instead of so you buy books from authors that you love already, or you buy books that where the title appeals to you, or you buy a book that are recommended to you. Right? These are the different ways in which either you find the title and it's like, oh my God, this talks to me, and I buy it, or I know the author already, so I'm buying it, or someone has recommended a book to me. And I think that if you're looking at the long-term vision of an author, what you want is to build a relationship with a potential reader. Because one of the challenges I think about being an author is that the only experience that people have about you is in the written form.
Yeah.
Like it's the book. And if they don't build a relationship with you as a person, they might not buy the next book, right? Or they might not even know that you exist and they don't buy the first book. But if you have something, a presentation that you can deliver before, and that where you can connect with people, you can give them value, and then you say, hey, here's my book. Now, that's if you want to sell books. Let's say that you have programs from the back of these books. Now, then you can use them to sell programs. So I've seen authors using webinars not to sell books, but to sell programs after the books. So, for example, they have people, they sell their books, and from the people that bought their books, they invite them to a webinar, and then they sell what they have to offer after the book, maybe a program, maybe a mentoring, if it is that kind of business that they are doing. So, a lot of different ways in which you can monetize using webinars.
Amazing, thank you. And Simone, if you don't know, I run a workshop called The Power of Your Story, and Simone does a one-day workshop with our authors called How to Monetize Your Story and Expertise. And one thing I always say with authors is that not to be just so one-dimensional. If you have a book, you have a business. If you have a business, have a book. Do you know what I mean? It's all part of the same thing. So having that bigger vision. And what I loved about your workshop is you get them to think beyond the book. Is there an online course that you can run off the back of this? What speaking engagements do you want to get? I'm not going to kind of throw out all the ideas because that's a consultation with Simone, but all these different things that they can do off the back of the book. And like you say, it doesn't have to be selling the book at the end. It's looking at the bigger vision. I love what you said also about connection, because people are interested in the person behind the book. Like, how many times have you seen people spamming about their books, or writing about what it is that they're offering? You're interested in
No
their
one
life.
cares.
No one
Yeah.
cares. They want to know you, the author. So I think webinars are a really powerful way of connecting with your potential clients and readers. Hey there, Christy. Hello, Martin. Martin saying correct. Mame is saying yes, she wants to sell more books. Amazing. So if you just come on, I'm Daniela Blechner. Hopefully you should know that. Author, book journey mentor, founder of Conscious Streams Publishing. I'm interviewing the awesome and amazing Simone Vincenzi, who is the co-founder of GTEx, international speaker, author, and also expert on how to create and launch high converting webinars. So we're speaking about creating and launching high converting webinars. What is the best way for people to start? For people who don't know anything at all about running webinars, what would the first port of call be for them?
Well, I think that a lot of people are worried about three things generally in webinars. One is the technology. Oh my God, the technology needs to be complex. It needs to be very difficult. I need to have a system, and I need to spend 500 to £1,000 or dollars a year in order to do that. I'll tell you straight away, that's not the case. The technology right now is incredibly simple, and I'll tell you where you can start it in a moment. The second thing that people are worried about is, what am I going to offer? Sometimes they don't have the offer ready, or they've tried to do a webinar before but have not sold. Maybe the offer is not that great to be sold on a webinar. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is, where am I going to find people? Where am I going to find people? So let me tell you straight away, if you don't know, if you are struggling with technology, the question is, can you use Zoom? That's the basic.
Well, we've all
Can
been
you
through
use
lockdown.
Zoom?
Everyone should be able to use Zoom by now.
Right. If you cannot use Zoom, you seriously need to question yourself. But let's say no, I'm joking. I'm making a generalization there. But Zoom is the simplest way. If you can use either Zoom webinars or even your Zoom meetings to get started. I would not recommend, if you've never run a webinar before, to invest into a more expensive webinar platform. There is a place for them, but also start small, start easy. So that's one, make things easier for yourself. Secondly, the offer. Sometimes if you already have an offer, great, go out there and sell your offer. But sometimes you can use webinars to even sell a consultation. Maybe you don't have a perfectly defined offer that you feel comfortable to sell on a webinar. Make an open invitation. Invite people to a consultation. And we had actually incredible results with client. I have a client that she was completely new to webinars, and she said, I don't know what to sell. I said, you know what, let's create a webinar and let's invite people on a call with you to see how you can help them out. That's all we did. People connected with her on the webinar, and then they booked a call, and she's now busy for the next 4 weeks with clients. She cannot handle any more clients. So
Wow.
and that was on the back of a consultation. And then the other part is some people struggle because they think they don't have an audience, and they say, well, I don't have an audience. How am I going to get people registering to attend this presentation, right? And the fact is that if you can use partnerships where you can have other people and do a tour for other communities, or doing other interviews like we are doing right now, and use other platforms to then build your audience. And in fact, we had plenty of clients that they started with literally no audience. And the work that we do is to help them build relationships so that they can add value to other people, communities, and audience, and get clients using their presentation and webinar presentation. So this is really how everyone can start with a webinar. Everyone. There's no excuses.
Exactly. I love that tip as well. It's like finding your tribe. It's finding people who have communities who can benefit from what you're doing, and teaming up. And I think that's a really powerful thing, like what we're doing here. So
What we're doing right now.
There you go. I remember when webinars first, well, I think it's when they first started for me, or when I first became aware of webinars. I was using Webinar on Air. Do you remember that?
No.
I don't know if it's still going.
I used the webinar Jam for ages.
Oh yes,
then,
yes.
And it was working. I used Webinar Jam for a good 6 years, and then now I'm using Zoom webinars. Actually, I moved to Zoom webinars, and yeah.
You've obviously gone through lots of different technologies, but also different presentation styles. So can you give us a sense of like what different presentation styles there are? I mean, I've obviously taken part in a lot of webinars, but I haven't actually taken, conscious notice of what the different styles are. So can you just run through some of those styles for us?
Yeah, so I'm not a big believer of presentation styles, because presentation styles, they are mainly created by the presenter. What happens is, if you don't present like the presenter, their presentation style might not work for you. And 9 times out of 10, I found that if you just copy blindly someone else's presentation style, you end up not feeling yourself in that presentation.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the reasons why people don't do webinars, because maybe they've been given a webinar script, but they don't feel like, this is not me, or I don't know how to put myself in it. So I flip the script. What is a presentation, and what do you need a presentation for? You need a presentation to get someone that doesn't know you or has never bought from you to buy something from you, right? To make a purchase or to inquire. So what can we do to make that happen? Well, your presentation, I believe, is answers to questions that people have. So instead of focusing on what is the best presentation style, what is the best flow of the presentation that I can create, which I think there is a place for that, but it comes at a second time.
Yeah.
I want to say, what do people need to know in order to buy? And so I want to answer questions. Now, if someone message me, I actually have 9 questions that you can ask yourself, and then answering those nice questions literally gives you the flow of the presentation, and is a free resource that I have. Because instead of creating like a webinar script, what you're doing, you're literally answering questions, and your presentation comes from answering those questions. Because you need to guide your audience through a shift in perception, a shift in belief. You need to guide your audience from, I don't know who you are, to, I want to buy from you and I need what you're offering, right? So you're answering the question that they have internally, but you're answering them throughout the presentation. So I got 9 questions. Just message me that question and I'll send them to you as a PDF that I've created.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you so much. That's great. And it's also about, like you're saying, addressing their pain points, because you have a very short window to go through them, don't you? So when you're tailor making it, it creates more connectivity. Okay.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us about some of your experiences running a webinar? Tell us about it. Give us a success story.
The good ones, the good ones or the bad ones? Which ones?
I want them all. I'll give you a comparison. Give me, something we can learn from. A webinar that went wrong, and a webinar that was really successful, and what it was that was, different in both of those.
I've done more than, I think I've definitely done more than 600 webinars so far. So wow. I can tell you that we had a lot of great successes and a lot of crashes, like things that where I wanted to internally die from not having anyone show up to the webinar and just like finishing the presentation on my own and not having even one person that register showing up,
Oh no.
to having 300 people watching live and not making even one sale over there.
Wow.
Yeah, those things suck, I'll tell you straight away. But also they are part to having like the technology not working, internet stopping in the middle of the
Mhm.
presentation, you name it, it happens. Now, they're part of the game. Nothing goes always 100% right. Everyone that tells you if you do this strategy will always go 100% right, they're lying. There are always stumbling blocks. But at the same time, you learn how to deal with those situations, right? For example, this is not a webinar, but for the past 3 days I had no internet connection and I had presentation. I'm here in Italy with my family. I had to call a friend of mine to go to their parents' house so that I could do this.
Oh
So you
no.
start all those this, we can do this call, right? So you learn how to go around it the more experience you have, and I think this having a backup plan is really important. So this is the ugly part. Sometimes you will do webinars where only two people or no one will show up. Sometimes the technology will crash. Sometimes the internet will drop out. And so what? We move to the next one. Is annoying? Yes, absolutely. But we move to the next one. Now, let's talk about the positive or the success
Yes.
story, shall we?
Yes,
Okay.
please, let's.
There is
And
if it was
if you're watching, sorry, in the comments, let us know, please. Have you ever done a webinar? Would like to know. Yeah. So just yes or no, or yes, I've done a webinar, or no, I haven't. Okay.
yeah, that would be great to know. So talking about the positive and the success stories, I mean, where do I start? Personally, we made at least 2 million, I'll tell you in dollars, at least $2 million from webinars.
Wow.
So yay.
So they're a huge, yeah, advocate for them.
Yay.
Yeah. So yeah,
I
they're a
like them.
huge. Also, she is saying spot on advice. Awesome. Shea, do you run webinars? Let us know some of your experience as well.
Will be
Never done
great.
one. Okay.
So then
Success story.
the other thing in terms of success stories, if I'm looking with clients, we had a client that I'll give you different ranges from someone that literally was in a critical situation. They called me, said, hey, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent this month. They attend our free webinar training, not even the paid one, which is the webinar conversion accelerator. So they attend the free webinar training we did. They run their webinars and they paid all the arrears of
Wow.
their, and they were about 5,000. It was in arrears about £5,000, paid all the arrears. And also added an extra $2,000. I think he made 7,000 from it. And he tried webinars before, but it never converted.
For
Following
one
our
webinar.
courses, one.
Wow.
One. We had another client recently where she was again starting out. In this case, she was fine. Like she wasn't on this kind of situation, but she was contemplating going back to a full time job. And I told her, no, let's do a webinar, and then you decide. I want you to at least try it. She tried it, and that's what I mentioned. The one I mentioned earlier. She's been packed for the next 4 weeks with clients. She had more than. Sometimes you just need to try. I think
Yeah.
she had someone that shared about her webinar because she works with animal. She had more than 400 registrations, literally on her first
Wow.
webinar.
400. Who
More
was
than
it that shared?
Listen, she didn't even have a registration page. That's when I said just run these things,
Wow.
and she had only a Zoom link, literally not even a registration Zoom link. So people showed up, and she had like 25 sales on the first webinar that she ever did. Like she was shocked, and because
Phenomenal.
sometimes you just need to get out there. You never know. And then I'll tell you another one, which is with a more established person that we work with, Katya. She's already a multi six
I
figure
know. Yeah.
business, right? Katya.
Yeah.
But she has been resisting creating webinars because she was stuck, because she was not She was not comfortable in what type of content to create, what balance of training is selling. And so she procrastinated on her webinar for about 3 years. I've been telling her for 3 years, you need to run this thing. Like it's gonna make you a lot of money. She already had an audience. She already had clients, and she made about an extra $100,000 in cash collected in about three
Wow.
months. Yeah,
Right. Who would like an extra $100,000 in cash in about 3 months? I do. That's amazing. And obviously, she's already got an established platforms, but it just goes to show with webinars, you can sell your products and your services when you get it
absolutely.
right.
That's why I gave different examples, because
Yeah.
not everyone has an established platform. But if you have, then you can amplify your result and conversion. But if you're starting out, nothing stops you from actually getting good results, even starting from scratch.
It's amazing. So we've got Dillis here. Shout out to Dillis, one of our authors. Not Miss
Dillis!
Widow. Yes, transformational coach. Here we go. Also attended lots of GTEx trainings as well. She says, I'm going to call you, Simone. I have to do my webinar. Well, if you hold on till the end of
Let's
this
do this.
interview, hold on to the end of the interview, you're going to find out how he can help you. Okay. Tanya Hughes says, I've never ran a webinar from a customer perspective, have been skeptical in joining them. Less time, ability, and due diligence in the presenter. You hear a lot of horror stories of poor content. And is that something, do you think, that people shy away from maybe running webinars or attending webinars at all?
Yeah,
Or?
absolutely. There is, and it is a great point, Tanya. There are horror stories on the webinar world, but like not one is a good presenter, and not everyone has integrity, right? There are two things,
Mm.
but it happens in every industry. We have accountants; some are good, some are not good. You have a plumber; some are good, some are not good. So
Teachers.
in every, yeah, teachers, some are good, some are not good. Authors, some are good and some are not good. You can have some books and be very disappointed after you buy them. It happens all the time. So I think that every industry is not exempt from this, and I think it is up to the presenter to have the goal to become better, and of course, one, have integrity, which is really important. I think is a must for anyone in business. And the second part is also becoming better, because not every it takes time to become good at presenting if you're not good already. I think it took me the first probably 15 to 20 webinars to really create something where people were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I'm sure I did some poor presentations where people signed up and registered and they left with, that wasn't that
I
great.
I have never, I want to put this out, I have never attended a poor presentation of yours. I've never attended a poor webinar. I've always learned so much. Your trainings, you're just engaging. And that's why I always bring you back to speak with my
I
community and
appreciate it.
run
We
trainings
also
for your
met.
community.
We also met 5 years in, right? So I
Yes.
I was doing this for about 5 years. So that's why I'm saying, like, sometimes and it's important for you. But if you want to become great as a presenter, I think that presenting skills are a must to have for any person, like for anyone in business, author, coach, speaker, trainer. But you don't become great at presenting by attending a short presentation skill
Yeah.
course or a one day. You become better by doing those presentations. And so if when people work with us, we give them the framework, we support them, and at the same time there are some people that smash it out of the park because they are good at presenting, and some people that it becomes the starting point for them to become good at presenting and refine themselves and become better.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So we've got Dennis is saying, I'm a member of GTEx. I'm a VIP.
VIP Dillis.
Dennis, if you don't
Cheers.
mind, could you put the link to GTEx in the comments, please? That would be amazing. Dennis is saying, my show helped me to present, I must say. Exactly. It's through practice. You religiously have been doing your show once a week now for I don't know how long, and your how much you've improved is amazing. Tanya, agree. Just wondering how you build a brand that supports integrity.
That's a great point. I think that there is the piece of advice, fake it until you make it, which can be quite dangerous. as a piece of advice, because there is this idea of pretending to be someone that you are not. Uh, if it's the first webinar you do, tell people, hey, this is my first webinar. The more we pretend, the more pressure we put on ourselves, and the easier it is for us to fuck up.
Mm.
That's how it is. The more honest we are with us and with others, the better it is. If you are nervous before a presentation, you tell your audience, I'm nervous right now. I got to tell you, I'm nervous, but I'm also here because I have something important that I want to share with you. Or at the beginning of your first webinars, you say, hey, you know what, I'm not really used to doing webinars, but I really have something important to share with you, and so that's why I'm doing it. And they will respect you for that, because
Mm.
people respect people that are honest, that have integrity, but also that have passion and a mission about their cause and what they want to share. So that's how you can be with integrity. Absolutely.
Beautiful. It's a really good point. Be yourself. Thank you. So moving on to horror stories, as Tanya mentioned earlier, can you give us 3 things that people who run webinars tend to make a mistake on? 3 horrible mistakes. Yeah.
So one is not a horror story, but it's a big mistake, which is where we come into place a lot of time with the training that we run with the webinar conversion accelerator, is that they want to give away everything that they know, and then they get disappointed because they don't get clients. So they might create a great training, even if they are a great presenter and they create great training, the webinar might be amazing, but it's a training webinar, it's not a sales webinar. And then they get disappointed because they don't make sales. There's a difference. One is to sell and one is to train. The content is different. The journey that you take your potential, the audience to, and your listeners to and viewers to, are different. And a lot of webinars, they don't convert, not because the content is bad, but because the content is not the right content to sell, is the right content to train. But what people do say, oh, great, thank you very much. And then they go and buy from someone else that can sell better. And I'm sure you have seen this all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen this all the time, right? And so that will be the biggest mistake that I see from people that could already make good money. And when we work together, we change the nature of the presentation so that is aligned to sell and still gives value. Because I think that sometimes there is this idea, either I sell or I give value. No, you can give the right value that position the sales and is valuable and sell. But that's the balance that we need to create. I think that's the first mistake. The second mistake is that they procrastinate too much. They overthink their content instead of becoming better as they go along. So instead of starting with the first draft, delivering the first draft and improving it. And then the third mistake is that they get too caught up in the tech, and they say, no, I'm not going to do it because I don't understand tech, while you can send people a Zoom link and be done with it.
Yeah, that's a huge one, isn't it? The tech that holds you back, when actually it's so simple. It's just creating that content and getting the balance. Now, speaking about balance, I think Tanya was talking earlier about the horror stories, and when you said that, I had this kind of vision of, attending a webinar. You want to learn, you want to get value, you want to get lots of insight, things that you can apply. But maybe you get, 5 minutes of intro, long bit about your life story, little bit of training, and then you've got 30 minutes of selling. What is the balance? I mean, I'm sure that's not the correct balance, but what's the correct balance?
In the way that I work, the balance is 5 to 10 minutes for the introduction. And the introduction includes as well your story, why the topic is important, why they should pay attention, what they're going to learn. So the foundation and your story, about 5 to 10 minutes. Then you have depends. Let's take a 60 minutes webinar. So let's take a 60 minutes webinar for this example. 5 to 10 minutes for the setup, and then a 30 minutes, 35 minutes of content, and 15 minutes of sales. And if some people say, oh, but 15 minutes of selling, isn't that too much? One of the other reasons why a lot of webinars fail to convert is, on one side, people oversell, so they sell for 45 minutes of the
God.
of the 1 hour. On the other, so people leave at the beginning, just
You're
like, oh, I'm done
awful.
with this. Or the other side is that people sell too little. How can
Mm.
you expect someone to buy from you if you don't give them the chance to understand what you're offering?
Hmm.
It takes time for people to assimilate. Like, you might know your offer, but they don't. So I found that this is a good balance between the setup, the content, and the sale, where also in 15 minutes you have time and you can slow down, it's not rushed, and the people can understand what they're buying. And that's really important, because if you rush the sale and because you want to finish the content, that's actually going to be counterproductive, because now you're rushing your part, so you're cutting yourself short to finish the content. So I'd rather you stop the content and have your 15 minutes of sale. And that was one of my biggest problems at the beginning. I wanted to finish the content because I didn't want to take away from the audience. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
And I had to reframe to, my sales time is sacred. No matter what, I'm going to have my 15 minutes to sell and I'm going to finish on time. Or, well, a bit of a run sometimes, but hey, yo. But I'm going to have my 15 minutes of sales, because I'm not cutting myself short. I'm doing
Exactly.
this to sell, and I'm staying true to the purpose of that webinar. But because I've taught and gave value for another 35 to 40 minutes, then I've earned my right to sell. And if
Hmm.
people want to leave, they can leave. People don't want to buy, that's fine. I'm glad you enjoyed the training. Let me talk to the people that actually are considering buying. And I'm
Yeah.
talking to them in that moment.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. That's so helpful. Thank you. If anyone's watching and if you have any questions about webinars, please do throw those questions up. We're going to have just another 5 minutes for Q&A here with Simone. If you're watching, if you've just tuned in, where have you been? I'm speaking to Simone Vincenzi. He is the co-founder of GTEx. They provide brilliant trainings for entrepreneurs. They help to, what do you help them do? What is your slogan again? Turn experts into authorities. There you go. Simone is the co-founder of GTEx, as I said, international speaker, author, and expert at creating and launching high converting webinars. If you have any questions about that, please do throw those questions up. I really like what you said about the balance there, and also just staying true to your purpose and being very intentional, because I can see myself, I've done webinars before and it's like, I just want to get to the end of this content, and I might have expanded a little bit too much, but I'm not sticking to time. But if you say you've got an hour webinar, somebody has put aside that hour and they might have to do something at 8 o'clock when your webinar ends. So to hold that 15 minutes of selling sacred, I think that's such a good tip. Thank you so much for that. I'm taking tips here for myself. Martin says, well done. Lovely. Martin, have you run a webinar
Thank you,
before?
Martin.
If you run a webinar before, have you found this of value and worth, please do let us know. Okay, so how can you assist my awesome community further? We've got Dillis already saying she wants to pick up the phone and speak to you, but how can you offer us some more of your golden nuggets?
We have the webinar conversion accelerator. It is actually a 2-week webinar training that we are running, where in 2 weeks you're going to get your entire webinar sorted. So we work on the first week on the offer, and the second week we work on the presentation and getting the presentation right with the call to action. And then we also have the third, at the end, then we give you also the launch plan with all the templates to fill up the webinar, whether you are selling it to your own audience or finding partnerships that are going to fill the webinar for you. We're going to give you also the sales sequences, to the emails that you can send to people after after they join the webinar, to get them to buy and maximize the sales opportunities that you have. And also for the people that they've not attended live, but they want the recording and now they need to buy from the recording. So we're going to give you the entire system, and it is in 2 weeks. And the best thing about this training is that not only we're doing it together, but also because it's a group training, we're also going to give you personal feedback on the work that you're doing. So we're going to give you personal feedback on your offer, even if it is a group training. We're going to give you personal feedback on your presentation. But also, because you're working with others, you can create partnerships opportunities and help each other fill each other webinars.
Of course.
And that's where the magic happens, where you can tap into audiences that are not yours and build your audience and get access to new potential clients from the collaborations that you are creating. So that's the webinar conversion accelerator.
And when is this webinar conversion accelerator happening, Simone?
2nd of September. That's the session, the first session that we start. So we start on the 2nd of September for 2 weeks. And if you miss a particular session, you get the replay. And then as long as you get your homework done and the task done in the time frame, even by watching the replay, we will still give you feedback and check the work that you have done. So you still have that personalized attention to make sure. Because what we want is for you to have the webinar done so you can literally press play and go. That's what we want, and that's what we are going to deliver.
Amazing. And hopefully there's a ready-made audience of other webinar attendees supporting each other's webinars as well. Okay, hopefully. So I have put the link in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on Instagram, can they pop over to I can put a link in my link tree. It's not there yet, but I'll put it in as soon as this interview finishes, and you can book your ticket to the...
Yeah, and you can, and the ticket is not that it's very affordable. It's $397 for the full training, full money back guarantee. So if you at the end you say I didn't get value, but you need to do the exercises. We don't take in people that I've done nothing, I didn't get value. It's like that. That's your problem.
Well, of course you're not. Yeah,
you need to do the work. No, you can surprise the people that do nothing and they say I want my refund. Fortunately, there are not that many, but sometimes it makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. And then so full money back guarantee, and you can book your place for only $30. Maybe you were not intending to buy something right now and to join the training, but you say, actually, I really want this, and that can really help in my business. Then you can book your place for $30. In the checkout page, there is that option. And then your $397 are going to be charged in 10 days. So you have then 10 days to put the money in the right accounts and so on. And then it's when it will be charged. So that's an option for people that they want to take action. And one of the things that we are offering for everyone here on this call is also one-to-one session at the end of the process. So not only you have the personalized feedback, but also I'm going to spend time with you to review the webinar that we have done. So you can ask me questions that maybe you don't want to ask in the group, or you didn't even have a chance to ask in the group. And for us, it's important that everyone gets seen, gets heard, and they get what they're looking for. So that's an extra bonus that we are giving as part if you decide to order today.
That's part of the 397.
That's it.
Wow. 1-to-1. That's amazing. Okay, fantastic. We'll see if I'm free on the second now. So you heard it from the man himself. I have put the link in the comments, so please do book it. As I said, Simone's trainings are amazing. I personally have gained so much value and worth, in terms of my business. So I highly vouch for Simone and everything that he teaches. And I'm going to start doing webinars now. You've got me thinking. Thank you. I'm so glad that I answered the call. I was going to take the week off, have the Wednesday off, but it's been fantastic. It's got me thinking about doing my own webinars. So thanks. What can
that's
you
generally what happens. That's generally what happens. I do interviews about webinars, and then the interviewer is like,
yeah, I know. I'm listening to it. I'm like, I know some of this stuff. I'm not applying it. Why am I? I'm literally leaving clients on the table.
It's true, but
no,
it is. That's why we do it in 2 weeks, because we know how much people procrastinate on this, and literally you can get it done in 2 weeks and save yourself years of procrastination, trials and tribulations. So it would be great to have you there as well, Danni.
Oh, I'd love to. So what is the last departing words you would like to leave us with?
The last parting words are: 1, webinars are not as difficult as you think. That's the first one. It's actually, if you get the right structure and the right support, you can get them done pretty easily. But secondly, they are the most, in my opinion, I can talk for myself, they're the most incredible way to connect with your audience, connect with clients, and sell offers that I've ever seen. And also they are incredibly predictable, because once you have a good system, you can repeat this system, and they always make sales. And and it gives you freedom, because as long as you have a good internet connection. Let's talk about the internet connection. Really important. We underline it.
Not go there again, Samantha. You've
You
just gone
can
over it.
you can go live and get clients.
You heard it from a man himself. Please do check out the link. Add Simone. Check out GTEx. Cannot recommend them enough. So thank you so much, Simone, and thank you everyone for joining. I will be back next week. Well, I'll be interviewing the awesome and amazing Doreen Robinson, who's written a book called Grandad and Me. I would get up and grab it, but I'm wired up in so many places. So you'll have to tune in tomorrow. You'll have to tune in next week at 7 p.m. GMT. All right. See you then. Bye.
Ciao.